Alrighty then, this is the Aromantic Shipper back again with another video, another review for this December, talking about Amphibia, which is a show that I watched in 2022 that I certainly have some thoughts on. So some background. The Owl House and Amphibia, they're both two shows airing around the same times. Obviously, Amphibia came out first, but they're both two shows that are very similar in a lot of ways. Obviously, there are even more similarities concerning the fact that, the finale of the Owl House kind of ended in sort of the same way that the finale of Amphibia did in season 2, and the fact that, they're basically canonly, they're connected as existing in the same universe, technically, in canon, which we see through like a bunch of little references and nods to one another throughout the two shows. But anyway, so Amphibia and Owl House are very similar in a lot of ways. Like it both has like young teenage girls being sent to like another dimension for an isekai adventure and stuff, and so it's the Owl House for me has always been like much more talked about online, and I sort of started noticing Amphibia later in 2021 and 2022, whereas before I sort of just saw everyone talking about the Owl House and how good it was. But I sort of a lot of people were saying that Amphibia is actually really underrated and it should get like as much attention as the Owl House does. And so I did end up watching Amphibia on Disney Plus. I actually started watching it at around the same time that like the final episodes of season 3 were airing. So basically I was watching it like while it was pretty much ending, and I watched the series finale like a few weeks after it came out. So yeah, I mean relatively recent fan of this show in terms of when I caught onto it. So what do I think of it? Do I think it is as good as the Owl House? And no, I don't think it is. I think the Owl House is a significantly better show, but there is still definitely some praise to be given to Amphibia for sure. I mean, so one thing, and basically, in my opinion, the only thing that Amphibia does better than the Owl House is probably the humor. I mean, this show can legitimately be really funny, and whereas with the Owl House, I feel like, there are definitely funny jokes in the Owl House, but not a lot of it is like super laugh out loud stuff, whereas in Amphibia, I feel like it did legitimately get me to laugh a lot in this series, and like the expressions and faces that the characters make with the animation can just get like really exaggerated and out there, and it's really funny. So I mean, the humor is probably in my opinion the best thing about this show, or maybe not the best thing about it, but one of the best things about it that I think is probably done a bit better than in the Owl House. So talking about anyway, getting back to it, though. So first off, we're going to go season by season, where we're going to first talk about season 1. And season 1 is the introduction season, where, honestly, not a ton really changes in the status quo. I mean, like, basically, almost all of the episodes in season 1 are kind of just filler, and, not a bunch of plot or character progression is really happening. Like, we do get sort of hints every now and then at, like, a deeper story going on, but, like, really not much of actual progression in terms of the story, and in terms of the filler episodes are not necessarily bad, especially when a show is starting out sort of introducing everything in the world and the story and the characters. So I feel like in season 1 the filler episodes just kind of like vary in quality. Like they can be good, they can be like not that great, they can be like just kind of okay. I mean, like, some episodes can be pretty entertaining in season 1. Like, for example, the stakeout episode where Anne and Hop Up, like, they basically get into a drug-induced hallucination. I still can't believe that was, like, allowed by Disney, but it's just, like, I mean, they're literally on drugs. They're popping shrooms. Like, it's just, like, the fact that was actually in, like, a Disney show, it's pretty funny. And so it's also just really, like, hilarious the way it was done and everything with that. But then other episodes just kind of boring and are not really that interesting to me. So, I mean, like, one of my biggest issues with season 1 is that, like, a lot of the episodes followed the same kind of formula, where what will happen is, Anne, the main character, will sort of mess around and act irresponsibly, which will, bring her into conflict with the character of Hop Up, and by the end, she will learn some, kind of lesson about, being more morally responsible and like not taking things for granted. And like it's fine as an episode premise, but they just repeat the same premise kind of over and over again in multiple like different episode plots. And I just feel like as the season went on, it just kind of became sort of stale and formulaic. And I don't know, it's just something that did kind of bother me. So in terms of in terms of characters, which obviously in season not super focused on developments and plots. The characters are obviously going to be very important. So what do I think of the characters in Amphibia? Well, I like Anne, who is the main protagonist, fine enough. I think she's perfectly serviceable protagonist, but I mean, I just don't know. I mean, like, she's likable. She has her moments, definitely, but I just don't feel like she's, like, an amazing protagonist or anything like that. She's perfectly serviceable for the story, but I just wouldn't, like, write home about, like, how incredibly amazing she is, because she's just, like, I don't know, she's a fine character, but not one that I was, like, super, like, invested in and liked a ton. Same with Sprig, sort of. Like, Sprig is also fine. He's, like, the best friend character who sort of goofs around, and he's fine. I like him well enough, but, I mean, he just wasn't super interesting either. I mean, like, I don't know, it's just, there's nothing really that stands out about those two who are, like, the pseudo-main characters of the first season. Like, there's nothing that stands out about those two, like, that much. However, the sort of other two members of the main cast I actually liked a lot more, which was, first of all, I think Polly, who is, the baby frog, is actually incredibly funny, and she had a lot of moments that I really laughed at. And I mean, it's just, like, really funny to see this, extremely young character archetype where she's just so incredibly intense and, like, aggro, and, I don't know, she's just, like, I don't know, it's just incredibly entertaining to see this, incredibly young character who is, incredibly intense and incredibly not giving a shit about anyone else, and just like laying down the law. And I don't know, I like Polly. She's really funny. I really enjoyed her in this season and in seasons in the future. And my favorite character for sure in this season and in the series probably is, well, not the series, because we'll get to that in season 2, but my favorite character in season 1 was definitely Hop Hop. Hop Hop is actually, like, iconic in this series. Like, he is just so incredibly, like, funny, and all the jokes made at his expense with, basically a lot of them, yes, sure, a lot of them were sort of, making fun of, his, the fact that he is elderly, and, a lot of them were, like, old man jokes, but, like, they just work so well, and with his, like, personality and how he's portrayed in the series, I just really liked Hop Hop. He's absolutely, like, the perfect elderly character, and, he also he had a lot of genuine moments in the series as well, and that's something I also really liked, and that he wasn't just, like, comic relief. So, yeah, Hop Hop is definitely awesome, and there's also some nice side characters, too, that are introduced. Like, some of them are not really that interesting. Like, I never really gave a crap about Mayor Toadstool. I think that was his name. I didn't really find him interesting at all, but there's other side characters that are, in this series that I do genuinely like. So, talking about the finale of season 1, it was, honestly, really good. Like, it doesn't have a ton of build-up. Like, literally, there was only one episode focused on Sasha, with her just, like, coming in at the penultimate episode out of nowhere. But, like, the finale, even though it doesn't have a ton of build-up, is, really good. It did get quite a bit of emotion out of me, if I'm being honest. Like, that moment at the end where Sasha was about to fall off the tower. I mean, like, it really managed to get me invested, even though we hadn't spent, like, a ton of time with her character. And also, like, talking about Sasha, by the way, which I haven't mentioned up at this point, Sasha is a fantastic character. I really liked her in this series, and, she's really complex in a lot of ways, and I really liked, the arc that she had throughout the series, and pretty much every time she came on screen was definitely a big, a big draw in terms of, me constantly wanting to see her and what she's up to. And I really wish she had been given more screen time, because I feel like she sort of got shorted in the series, where she just didn't have, like, as much screen time as she should have, where, she's doing all these cool stuff and going on these adventures, but, like, the majority of the focus is almost always on Anne. And I don't know, I feel like that's a missed opportunity. You could have done more with Sasha. You could have put her in, multiple different, situations, and see how she would react, in addition to, Anne and the other member of the Calamity Trio, who we'll get to. But yeah, and also Grime, Commander Grime, who, is sort of Sasha's partner in crime, but, I should have said partner in grime. But yeah, kill me. And no, but like Grime, I really liked him too. He was a very entertaining character and also a very complex character. And I just really liked him, and I liked his development. I liked his dynamic with Sasha. And so season 1 for me, like I've been saying, is sort of a little meh. It's fine, it's okay, it's perfectly serviceable, but it's just not really fantastic, except for maybe the finale episode. However, season 2, in my opinion, is much better, and also the best season of the show, for sure. Season 2 has a much better balance between filler and actual plot progression, where, you'll get these, one-off episodic episodes where, it's not, technically the story isn't moving forward that much, but it does feel like it's still encroaching little by little, as, the characters are actually, like, on a journey, basically, every episode, where, they're trying to get to a destination, whereas in season 1, there really wasn't any main goal of the characters, where they were just kind of hang out in Wyrtwood until, like, the seasons changed, where they were able to get out of there. So, I mean, like, that's something that I definitely like a lot more about season 1, and, it really never feels, it almost never feels like season 2 is wasting your time. The status quo continues to develop as it goes along, and a lot of the seemingly less important episodes in the season do ultimately turn out to, have a purpose in the end. And that's one of the things I really like about season 2. And in regards to the more fillery episodes this season, which there definitely are some, I mean, like, they're probably some of my favorite filler episodes in the show. I mean, quite honestly, like, there are just some really iconic episodes in season 2. Like, for example, the Gravity Falls crossover, which was hilarious and very well done. And, I just really like, I can't really think of almost any episodes in season 2 that I actually disliked or found pretty boring. I mean, unlike in season 1 and season 3, which we'll get to. But, also, Mercy is introduced in this season and is in a lot of the episodes in season 2, which automatically makes this the best season because Marcy is the best girl. I mean, I absolutely fucking loved Marcy in this show. She is, oh my gosh, she's such a good character. She's so amazing. She's so entertaining. I just like, I don't know what it is. I mean, I might know what it is, but I just love, like, this kind of character archetype where, it's the, similar to, like, Entrapta from, She-Ra and the Princess of Power, where it's, like, the smart, incredibly eccentric, incredibly socially awkward, incredibly hyperactive, girl character, where, I just absolutely love that archetype, and it's so entertaining to me, to, see it unfold on screen. And I love her interactions with Anne this season. They're, like, so incredibly wholesome and stuff. Like, I just love Marcy. She's so amazing. Best girl for sure. Like, but yeah, I mean, like, and another thing that's really cool about, season 2 of the show is that, like, this season is really cool because we get to explore so many cool locations within Amphibia. And, like, whereas before, again, we were sort of just trapped in Wyrtwood, in season 1 for a lot of it, and sort of, you did get to sort of explore that area, but it just was very limited in terms of its scope, whereas now in season 2, you get to see a lot of these cool, interesting, unique locations all over the place, and I really like that. Also, definitely, some of the best episodes in the season were the temple episodes, which were, like, absolutely some of the best episodes in the season, and really the show in general. I mean, they were incredibly entertaining. It was incredibly cool to see, each member of the Calamity Trio go through the stuff that, they had to go through to, get the music box charged up again. And, like, I also, another thing that I really like about the season is, like, the 2 episodes with Sasha after the third temple. Like, obviously we see in the third temple episode, Sasha sort of stops being on the sidelines and actually rejoins the main group again temporarily. And the 2 episodes after that, where she is sort of trying to get used to being with her friends again, and them sort of, like, trying to let the all of the things that, was causing a lot of conflict in the past, sort of trying to let go of that and get past it. I really like them, especially, like, the episode where they were basically trying to have a dinner together, and Grime and the fucking volcano. Oh my gosh, that was so fucking hilarious. Oh my gosh, that was, like, that was one of the most hilarious things ever. And the battle after that, which is the penultimate episode, technically, which is the Battle of the Bands episode, I mean, like, it feels really weird to, have, like, such a relatively lighthearted episode, before the incredibly big, incredibly heartbreaking finale, which we'll get to. But, I mean, it really worked for me because it was sort of showing, like, the last time, technically, until the final episode that all of these, that this trio was sort of going to be together and actually get to chill out and, you know, vibe and, you know, play music and stuff. So I really like that. And I just really like those episodes after Sasha came back into play. It's just really, I mean, I don't know, it's just really cool to me whenever, like, all three of the main human characters in this show, you know, Sasha, Marcy, and Anne are on screen together. And I feel like I wish we could have gotten maybe more of that, because I just really like their interactions, how they bounce off each other. So, I mean, like, so anyway, so now that we've gotten to the end of talking about season 2, we have to talk about True Colors now. And spoilers, because I don't want any of you to be, who haven't watched the show, to be spoiled on what happens in True Colors, which is, but True Colors is absolutely fantastic. It is, like, probably easily the best episode in this show, you know, bar none. I mean, like, it's just such a fantastic finale with how, you know, everything, you know, builds up and, you know, the things that happen in it. And, like, also, damn, that freaking Sakuga that happens in the fight between, you know, Anne and King Andreas, like, that, they really did good with that scene. That was some great Sakuga animation. And, like, everything about this, everything about this, you know, finale, it's just, like, so incredibly good, like, you know, with, the capital city of Amphibia being taken over, and, like, you know, the reveal of who King Andreas is and what he's trying to do, and the reveal of, you know, Marcy being the one to, like, trap them all in Amphibia in the first place, and, like, her whole breakdown and being impaled, like, oh my gosh, it was just so, the finale of season 2 just brought out so many emotions and just, like, made you so afraid for what is actually going to happen. And it had a freaking warning in the beginning of the episode for, like, you know, mature content that might not be appropriate for kids, you know. So, you know, it's going to be something good. And, I mean, I don't know, it feels like, because here's the thing, it feels like the finale, True Colors, really shouldn't work because, you know, it tries to cover so much stuff in, like, only 27 minutes of screen time. Technically less when you're cutting out the opening and the credits. But, like, you know, it, and maybe you know, the finale True Colors should have been a two-parter, and maybe it would have maybe flowed a little bit better in that way. But even so, like, even if I do have sort of my gripes with what Amphibia does, which is, you know, it tends to, like, have that basically the bulk of its seasons, you know, focus on, like, character stuff and building stuff up, and then, like, literally at the last episode of the season, like it did this in season 1 too, it will have, like, this explosive, you know, culmination of, you know, all the sort of subtle things that had been building up. I feel like maybe it might have been better if True Colors was split up into 2 parts to sort of give more focus and let more time to breathe. But at the same time, like, the Amphibia crew did a really good job in making it flow as well as possible, and it made it so that, you know, I was never confused. It never really felt like tonal whiplash to me. It felt like it went very quick in terms of the things that it covered, but it didn't really feel like super rushed or anything, and it felt like a very natural progression of events. And so, you know, I definitely have to give the Amphibia crew, you know, props to that they actually made, you know, they fit so much stuff in just a 27-minute window and actually made it feel pretty natural and pretty, you know, pretty well told. So, yeah, anyway, you know, Amphibia, True Colors, definitely, almost definitely, the best episode of this season. And so now that we've gotten to talking about that, we have to get on to season 3, which has quite a few issues in it that make it not as good as season 2 of the show. So one of the things right off the bat when we get to season 3 of Amphibia that I find, like, so hilarious is that, like, they backpedal so hard from Marcy's death in season 2. And, like, you know, obviously Marcy doesn't die, but she does get stabbed through the chest, and it's, like, supposed to be this incredibly impactful and emotional moment because it's, like, literally a child character in a, you know, children's cartoon, and one of the, main character's, like, best friends just getting impaled through the chest. Like, it's definitely pretty dark, and it leaves the True Colors finale on a very, you know, somber and, you know, tragic note. But the thing is, like, in season 3, they sort of, like, do away with all of that and make it, like, they just backpedal so hard from her actual, like, you know, what happened to Marcy in the season 2 finale. And, like, here's the thing, I'm not mad that I don't take issue with the fact that Marcy didn't actually die. I mean, like, you could smell that she was probably going to survive from a mile away in terms of, you know, what she still had to contribute to the narrative. But, like, my problem with it is that, like, you know, it does take you out of the moment, you know, and it takes some of the impact away from the moment of what happens to her when, like, nobody in it's not just that the audience is treating it's not just that the audience is treating it as if, Marcy's definitely going to come back. It's that the characters and the show treat it as if, Marcy is definitely still alive and is going to be fine. I mean, literally Anne and all the other characters, including the ones on, all the planters and, everyone on Amphibia, they're all, convinced that, Marcy is still alive. Even though, realistically, they probably should think she's definitely dead when, she was stabbed through the chest in King Andrias's throne room and her body was not retrieved. So one would logically assume that, she died, even though obviously we know, again, as the audience, it is revealed to us that, she is obviously being, it's eventually revealed to us that she is being kept in a chamber by Andreas to sort of revived, where she eventually gets fused with the core and stuff. But again, the characters shouldn't know that, and the fact that all of the characters in season 3 basically act as if they know for sure that Marcy is dead, it just really takes away from the impact of the moment. And I don't know, it feels very wrong to me the way they just treat it as if in season 3 that what happened to Marcy has basically no consequence for the characters at all, and they aren't actually mourning her or anything. So that's a major issue that I have with season 3. I think it's obvious to me that, it was sort of the victim of censorship, where Disney obviously got pretty scared at, some of the graphic imagery that was present in the season 2 finale, and they basically made it a mandate, is what I think happened, where you have to treat it as, no, we have to reassure the kids that no, a character didn't actually die, she's still alive, and all the characters acknowledge that she's still alive, so no, you don't have to worry about that, guys, all the kiddies, she's definitely still alive, it's just, but it really gets under my skin, because it just really takes away from the impact of what actually happens in true colors. So that's, something that sort of bothers me about season 3. And in regards to season 3, though, probably one of my biggest issues with season 3 of Amphibia is that it feels like a major come down from, the incredible come up that was True Colors. I mean, True Colors is this episode where it feels like, oh my gosh, everything is just changing. The story is getting so much more intense and so much more, impactful, and it's really going to be, a lot more, from this point on, it's really going to be a lot more of a serious story where it's a lot more focused on drama and stuff. But that doesn't really happen in season 3. I mean, the first half of season 3 is, once again, just mostly filler episodes after Anne and the planters end up back on Earth. Rather than actually focusing a ton on Andreas and his takeover of, or I guess his stronger hold on Amphibia. He was already ruling it before, but his him strengthening his hold on Amphibia and everyone's efforts to fight back against him. Really, for the first 10 episodes of season, season 3, which is literally over half of the episodes in season 3, the Planter family and Anne are just trapped on Earth, and they get into all these wacky hijinks scenarios where the plot isn't really progressing, and it's just I don't know, it feels very jarring and really not that great in terms of episode quality. I mean, I don't know, some of the episodes are fun, I will give it that. Some of the episodes on Earth are fun. I do like them. And I do like Anne's parents and some of the other characters that are introduced on Earth. And some of the episodes are cool, but others are just really not that entertaining. It just feels I don't know, for example, the superhero episode where Sprig basically becomes this, superhero, trying to get attention. I mean, that episode just felt like such a complete and utter waste of time that just, didn't need to be there at all and just was, really not entertaining. And, I don't know, it's just it just feels like the plot is dragging its feet in the first half of season 3, where, for example, there's multiple episodes dedicated to this robot that Andrea sends to kill Anne, whereas you could have really just, got that, dealt with that plot point in one episode. You need to stretch it out for 5 episodes or so, which is how long it goes on for. There's multiple episodes with Mr. X trying to capture the planters, and it's just I don't know, it feels like it's just really, there's much more interesting things we could be focusing on, but we're not, because we're focusing a ton of time on all this stuff going on Earth, and rather than on Amphibia. And I feel like the Earth, even though it's sort of it is this sort of fish out of water story where, the planters are these alien frog monsters who are trying to, acclimate to the Earth's climate. But I feel like that's just much less interesting than being in the actual world of Amphibia, which was a cool world to be in. And it's just the Earth, which is a setting we all know, is just not as interesting of a setting to, have stories take place in, I feel like. And like, I don't know, it's just it just feels like a downgrade to me. It also tests, another thing that bothers me is, like, it tests my suspension of disbelief a lot with how nobody is able to see through the planters' obvious disguises and, realize that they're, frog monsters when they have, like, what, you think a trench coat and, like, some glasses and a fake nose is going to, distract from the fact that they are obvious, like, amphibious frog monsters from another dimension? Like, it's literally the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, thing from the movies that, like, where somehow a trench coat disguises your whole identity. It doesn't really make any sense, and it's not ever, like, played for laughs or ironically. It's just like, and I don't know, it just sort of really tests my suspension of disbelief that you could actually, that people would not, like, find out about this immediately. It also, like, another thing that really bothers me is why can't Mr. X just, like, locate Anne's house immediately and go and arrest them all? I really don't understand why he doesn't ever try to do that. Like, the government has a lot of information on, people, in case, anyone watching this didn't know, but, like, the government has a lot of information on, like, its citizens and can go and, like, investigate suspicious activity and, go to people's house and arrest them for stuff like that. I mean, like, I don't know, it doesn't really make any sense why Mr. X, like, takes so much time to actually, get to the root of, the Planter family and all the weird stuff going on with it. I mean, I don't know, it just bothers me. So, another thing that, like, and again, because I feel like these episodes could have, they could have spent more time and more episodes with stuff going on in Amphibia, because the stuff going on in Amphibia is actually much more interesting. Like, we literally got one Sasha episode before Anne got to Amphibia. One Sasha episode. Why didn't we see more of that? It was really interesting, like, seeing her, going through her character development and changing. Why did they not give Sasha more focus in this series? She needed it. I mean, come on, it just bothers me a lot. Like, and I don't know, there was also stuff that you could have really seen that was more interesting with other characters too. Like, for example, Andreas's backstory that we see in that one half episode, in, like, episode 14, I think it was, where, that should have been at least, like, a full 24-minute episode in terms of everything it covered, where it just feels like it was thrown in there because, we have to have a backstory for this guy, but we're just going to put it in this, like, one half episode and not really give it, like, ton of emphasis or focus. I mean, it's just like, and I feel like you could have focused more on that stuff because it's really interesting and, is very important for the story, but it just feels like, Amphibia, wants to spend a lot of its time focusing on Anne and the Planters and all the antics that they get up to. And, like, and that's sort of one of my biggest issues with Amphibia, which is that it's not as bad as Steven Universe, which, like, does this, like, all the time, but it is still a problem, which is that, Amphibia has, like, laser focus on its main character, Anne, and, like, it doesn't really dedicate a ton of time to things happening outside of her, which might be, more interesting to see, where, maybe, Anne is not really the center of, like, a lot of the interesting things and developments going on, where we maybe take a break from focusing on her for a while and focus on a lot of other characters. Like, for example, like how in Avatar: The Last Airbender, in that series, basically, it consistently cuts back to, Zuko's escapades throughout the show and seeing what he's up to, and oftentimes it's more interesting than the stuff going on with the main gang. We could have had something like that for Sasha, where basically she would be taking up, like, maybe a third of the screen time that Anne does, just cutting back to her continuously and seeing what she's doing, but, I guess it wasn't meant to be, and, like, and that just sort of bothers me because I feel like it's a wasted opportunity. Another wasted opportunity, by the way, in season 3 is Olivia and Yunnan. Like, I found their episode in this season to be really interesting and good, and, like, I don't know, it just feels like you could have done a lot more with them and focused more on their characters because I really like them. I mean, give us more gay nudes, okay? Give us more gay nudes. That's what this show and season 3 of Amphibia needs. More gay nudes, okay? Hear us, Disney executives. Anyway, but yeah. So, I mean, to be perfectly honest, though, going on to more of, Amphibia season 3, like, when Anne and the Planters actually do get back to Amphibia, the episodes are only, like, slightly more interesting than they were on Earth, because just, like, I don't know, I feel like I've been saying this whole thing about how, we should focus more on Amphibia, and, like, it's not as, it's much more interesting than the stuff going on Earth, but again, after Anne and the Planters get back to Amphibia, I don't know, some of the episodes are kind of stale. Like, for example, the Ohm episodes, which there was basically 2 of them, and, like, I don't know, it just feels like it was dragging its feet a lot of the time, and, sort of just going on this very formulaic basis of, all these, gathering all these characters together for a strike against, Andreas, and doing all these routine missions. And I don't know, it really didn't feel like it was as interesting and compelling as it could have been. Like, focusing on maybe some of the more, interesting stuff that it could have. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I feel like I'm being mean to season 3 a lot, but I mean, like, it just wasn't nearly as good as season 2. Season 2, the writing, the episode quality, the pacing, it was just a lot better, and I feel like it was a lot better structured as season. Whereas season 3, like, I don't know, it's just not nearly as good and has a lot of issues really weighing it down. However, I will say that the final 2 episodes of season 3 are really good, and it once again follows the trend of, Amphibia, where, it spends a lot of time with, like, these much less impactful episodes that are scattered throughout the season, but then in the finale, it just, sort of goes ham and really, gets big and gets really interesting. And, like, of course, and what's great about it, too, is that unlike in seasons 1 and 2, you actually have 2 episodes dedicated to the, final battle and resolving everything in the series, rather than just 1, and technically even 3, because the penultimate episode is basically just, basically just a mini action movie where it's like 45 minutes long, and like all completely focused on Andreas's invasion of Earth, and it's really good. It's really entertaining. It's a really good episode, and I really liked it. I mean, the action is fantastic. It's extremely well animated. Like, the music choices, it's absolutely breathtaking. I mean, like, you do sort of have to suspend your disbelief that none of the characters actually die in, like, an invasion of Earth, and that, like, all these characters who are able to, that we're gathering on Amphibia are able to, perform better in a fight against Andreas' army than, like, Earth soldiers with extremely advanced weaponry. I mean, you do have to suspend your disbelief with that, but it is still really good in terms of the action quality and the story and what's going on in the penultimate episode. And, also, I have to talk about something before, which is, like, I mentioned before that I just thought that Anne was kind of an okay protagonist. She wasn't great or anything, and I feel like she did start out as that in season 1, but I mean, like, I do like how her character, like, Anne's character, Anne as a character, like, doesn't get a bunch of, like, super, like, defining moments as in terms of her character development, but you do sort of see how over the course of the series, it happens sort of very subtly, but how her character develops, genuinely really does develop by the end of the series, with her subtle but also very notable arc of, taking responsibility for her actions and, creating her own future for herself. And I really liked how the flashback in the beginning of, the penultimate episodes, really sort of tied that in with her whole arc, where you saw, like, her being basically told by her teacher that she's just someone who doesn't really apply herself in anything, and she just sort of goes through life doing whatever and just trying to have fun and stuff. And you see her over time, go through an arc that isn't really like super, it isn't really like super, again, it's not an arc that is sort of, it's not like character development that is super, like, noticeable, but by the end of the series, you do definitely notice it, and how she has changed and how she's become a much more active and, a much more active character who actually really puts in the work to try to, protect what she cares about. And I really like that. And I really like how, the place that Anne ends up by the end of the series, and it's just really cool. And so yeah, I really like that in the penultimate episode of the season, and with the sort of how Anne sort of had to find the strength to fight against King Andreas, even when she was, like, beaten down by him. And, like, the series finale is also really good, even though I don't think it's quite as good as the penultimate episode, where basically getting to see everything that happens and seeing Anne again sacrifice herself was really impactful, and really did genuinely get a lot of tears out of me, even though it's obvious she wasn't actually going to die, but technically she did die, but was sort of just cloned in the end, which is, again, has a lot of existential trauma to that, which Anne even says herself. But I mean, like, but yeah, I mean, it is just really cool to see that, and I really like, I was really satisfied with how the series ended in the finale. I do wish, though, like, one problem I have is that I really do wish that we got to see more of Sasha and Marcy's Super Saiyan forms. like we did with Anne's, because like I don't know, it's just such I don't know, it just feels like you have a wasted opportunity with that, where you literally only see Marcy and Sasha go Super Saiyan in the finale of the series, and technically they didn't even do anything that was like super impactful, because in the end Anne just ended up absorbing all the powers into herself and making this big sacrifice. So technically, Marcy and Sasha's contributions weren't even like totally necessary. So I just feel like that's sort of a missed opportunity, where you could have had a lot more opportunity to showcase their really cool, unique powers, just like you got the chance to showcase Anne's. And I mean, like, so it's sort of disappointing for me that we didn't get to see more of the Calamity Trio outside of just Anne and their really cool Super Saiyan anime forms. I mean, like, can you imagine like seeing multiple episodes of Marcy doing that shit? It was just, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that would be so entertaining. But we got a short snippet of it, but I don't feel like I was satisfied by it enough. I mean, like, and so in regards to the ending of Amphibia and how everything was wrapped up, I think it was honestly really good. I mean, like, yeah, the ending of the series definitely left me pretty satisfied in terms of how everything was wrapped up. I really do like that Anne had to actually say goodbye to Amphibia, permanently, and have to, move on with her life after, going on this great adventure, because, it goes along with her journey of becoming more mature and trying to take responsibility for, where she has to do this, she has to make this decision to leave these people behind that she formed an incredibly close bond with, and actually, sort of worry about her prospects on, Earth, and so sort of finding out her path for herself there. And, I feel like it's a very mature and, good place to end the series off with her character. And like, I don't know, it's just like seeing everyone so many years later after the time skip honestly it did get a lot of emotion out of me. It was very impactful, like, and seeing where all the characters ended up, and, how their stories were wrapped up, and, I don't know, it was just really good for me. I really liked it, and I really liked how this season ended, even if, again, I have plenty of problems with season 3, but it really did end on a very high note, and that's like one of the greatest things that you can say about Amphibia, which is that, again, its finales are always really great, and it definitely, even though seasons 1 and season 3 definitely have a lot of like not so great content in between, everything that goes on, they really do end on a high note. And I think that is probably my best praise for Amphibia, which is that the ending of the series was very good. It was impactful. It was, felt satisfying, and I really liked it. And so, yeah, overall, in terms of what my thoughts are on Amphibia, again, I do not think it is nearly as good as the Owl House. I think the Owl House is pretty much better in almost every way, with, everything in it in terms of, maybe characters, in terms of story, in terms of pacing. The Owl House is better. Again, I think Amphibia is funnier, even though, in my opinion, like, there were some really funny jokes in season 3, but I don't feel like in season 3 the comedy is quite as funny as in the first 2 seasons, but maybe that's just me. But anyway, so yeah, Amphibia is definitely a good show, but it's not a great one. And, like, I feel like, if you like, shows like this, if you're, wanting to watch something that has a lot of great stuff in it, but maybe is not, like, that perfect, and you do sort of have to sit through a lot of content that really is not the most entertaining or the most grabbing, but the highs are definitely there, and are definitely something to be rewarded and praised about the show. So you'll sort of have to determine yourself if you want to watch this show, if you listen to anything I have to say and haven't watched it before, but for some reason did listen to me talking about it and didn't care about spoilers. But anyway, so basically that is my review of the Amphibia TV show. That's what I thought about it. If you have your own thoughts about it, leave down in the comments below. Anyway, so yeah, like, share, and subscribe. And as always, remember, just because you can't feel love doesn't mean you shouldn't want other people to. Bye.